Valve are working on Team Fortress 3 and it's going to be released tomorrow or something. Okay, that's not entirely true. Hey guys, how's it going? Just a quick video, as I think this is something that should be seen by more people. It's a really exciting project called Team Fortress Source 2, or TFS2 for short. And I'm normally pretty late with anything remotely newsworthy when it comes to TF2, so this may well be the 48th video on the topic that you've seen, but I think it's worth sharing for those of you who haven't seen this, and I've also been able to ask a few questions to the project leads in the hope of getting some interesting insights to share with you. But first of all, let me explain exactly what this is. Team Fortress Source 2 is a project run by a group of passionate TF2 fans purely out of love for the game and their craft. It's a project that asks a simple question: what would TF2 look and feel like if it was recreated in Source 2? To try and answer this question, the team are using and experimenting with S&box. S&box. I know, well, you're trying to be clever with your fancy brand name. It's pronounced Sandbox, and this is a spiritual successor to Gary's mod, made in Source 2, and it's very similar to the original. And this tool was released as part of a dev preview to a group of community members, which allowed this project to be born. Source 2, for those of you who aren't aware, is of course a much more modern game engine compared with the original Source engine, and has way more potential and power, but it's also similar to the original Source engine in some ways too. So these developers are taking advantage of the Source 2 toolset to not only recreate the TF2 experience and make it look gosh darn pretty, but also to potentially build upon and improve the experience too, and make better use of the new physics engine, and possibly bring in new enhancements such as fixing bugs, making balance tweaks, or just bringing things in line with modern day game design best practices. Progression on the project is shared on their blog, which I'll post a link to down below. At the time of recording, there is only one post to look at, but boy is it a juicy one, featuring some shiny assets, holy sticky bomb launchers, that looks good, some progress with particle effects in the works, a map showcase, and a preview of 5 of the 9 classes, which are looking surprisingly functional. Oh, and there's also a preview for a new HUD, which I was kind of interested in, as I work in UX and UI design. And let me know your thoughts on this one. I really like it, but at the same time, I'm conflicted, as I actually don't mind the default HUD either. And it makes me wonder, would it be better to stay true to the original design to begin with at least, and then just fix anything that's really broken? But that being said, I think this looks really cool, so I'd love to hear what you guys think. You can already see how much better the lighting and particle effects are, as well as the physics on the objects. There's dynamic lighting, and this should run a lot better on new hardware too, as Source 2 is a GPU reliant engine, so the more powerful your graphics card is, the more frames per second you should get. Anyway, it's all very pretty, and if you're looking for some new wallpapers, then look no further. But going back to that original goal, I really love the fact that this is just posing a question. It's just asking, how would TF2 look if it was ported to Source 2? How would it feel? Would it feel the same as TF2? These are all really interesting questions that I think many of us have wondered. And there's no kind of lofty promises here of a Team Fortress 3 with 24 new classes to unlock and loot boxes, and it's going to be the best thing in the world. It's just a bunch of guys with a passion for the game doing some solid work. Saying that, they should probably start a Patreon and go full time and introduce some new classes and call it TF3. Oh god. For the last part of this video, I'm going to go through the questions I asked Daniel, who is one of the project leads and the lead programmer. I'm hoping some of these questions are of interest to you too. These are just some of the things that came to my mind initially. Our plan is to release the project in stages. The short-term goal, recreate all TF2 classes and stock weapons. We are also planning to create some sort of basic team deathmatch game mode to make it more fun to play. Once we're done, we're going to release this to people with Sandbox to get feedback. Then we'll define our next goal, which could be a new game mode, a new feature, or even something completely original. It's too early to comment on that. We believe that these kinds of specifics should be defined as we develop and iterate. We might do some quality of life changes here and there, but overall we'll try and stick as close to the original as possible. Everything that doesn't involve physics is a straight one-to-one port. The kind of engine itself doesn't really affect strict maths calculations, and 99% of the time the results are almost identical to the original game. But if physics is involved, as with rocket jumping, things start to get a bit more complicated. Source 2 uses a different physics engine, which works completely differently to Havoc, the source physics engine. To make things feel authentic, you have to spend a lot of time fine-tuning using trial and error, but with enough time and dedication, it is possible to make it feel right. Getting class player model animations to work well in Source 2. We started work on the soldiers player model around 2 months ago, and we're still not done. All of that. Most of us here are huge TF2 fans who have played the game for a very long time, and so know a thing or two about TF2. So obviously personal experience has a decent impact on the game's design, but we're also listening to community feedback through all kinds of different sources to better understand what people think about this project and what they would like to see changed, added or removed. It's very important for us to make sure this project is easily moddable. We're sure that Source 2 is a toolset every TF2 modder would want to have in the base game, but since it's probably not going to be ported officially to the new engine, we still want to show people how awesome and easy to use these tools are. One of our goals with this project is to build a so-called TF base for other community members to use for their own projects. This base would contain all stock TF2 features, classes, weapons and even some game modes for people to access, and using these examples they would be able to create their own unique projects such as game modes, weapons, classes or even something completely outside of TF2. The scope obviously might change as we progress, but for now we're not here to replace the original TF2, and we want to make that clear. This project is supposed to be a proof of concept showing that TF2 on Source 2 is possible and that it really is needed to improve the game's performance, visuals and physics. We want to show people what benefits Source 2 brings to the game and what will be different or the same on this new engine. The dream for this project would be to kickstart a new era of TF2 modding, help people learn the Source 2 toolset and allow them to create something new using it and our base. Source 2 allows so much more compared to Source. Anything you can imagine for TF2 is now possible. Completely new game modes, huge maps, new environments, co-op missions, and so much more. At this moment in time, it's really hard to define any deadlines. We prefer to stick to the ready when it's ready way of developing so we don't burn ourselves out. And in a volunteered project like this, it's really important to keep everyone motivated in order to keep moving forward. Also, having something playable doesn't mean it's publicly available, especially when S&box is still hard to get access to. However, people who do have S&box will likely be able to try a prototype of TF2 on Source 2 sooner than you think. Unfortunately, everyone else will have to wait for S&box to be released, which isn't under our control. If you shoot Pyro's shotgun once in the base game, it actually gets reloaded twice. Yes, but we're also considering making grenade launchers have the left amount of barrels as an experiment. It took me ages to understand that joke. That guy had a surprisingly similar voice to my own, I thought. Weird that. Okay, thanks for watching guys. I'm looking forward to where this project leads, and ultimately I would love to try sticky jumping in Source 2, just to see how it feels. I've always felt that the mechanics of TF2 are kinda special, and I can imagine even if it's a tiny bit off, people will notice, and so this is going to be a huge challenge, a huge undertaking, but I wish these guys all the best. Check out down below for the links to all the stuff I've discussed in this video. They're looking for volunteers, so perhaps some of you guys can help. Thanks for watching, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.